US First Lady Melania Trump has unveiled the 2020 White House Christmas decorations. Joining me live now to discuss this and more, Miranda Devine, columnist at the Daily Telegraph and the New York Post. Miranda, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. But she's come in for a bit of stick, though. Why?
Well, it seems to be a Christmas tradition for the media to trash Melania Trump when she unveils whatever the White House Christmas decorations are, which are always beautiful and tasteless, and this year is no different. But the Washington Post has decided to give her a good kicking on the way out, and I think it's a measure of how this First Lady has been treated, which is pretty appalling. I have a piece in the New York Post today explaining that that's not all because of a sort of malicious or hostile media. It's also because she was ill-served by the staff around her. But you know, she's never been on the cover of a fashion magazine, for instance, never on the cover of Vogue, and that breaks with the tradition of her predecessors.
Yeah,
and,
well, it looks very. I'm with you, Miranda. It looks fine to me. What's Washington Post alleging? What are they bickering about?
Oh, they're just saying, you know, that it's sort of bad taste, and there's a nod to the 19th Amendment, which is about women getting the vote, and that's irony, considering how sexist and, you know, terrible the Trump administration is. And they just don't like Melania Trump because they don't like her husband, and, and the fact that she's loyal to her husband, and also she's 100% on board with the Trump agenda. And, you know, she speaks 6 languages. The Washington Post today is claiming that that's not true. You know, it's all about just kicking the Trumps on the way out.
Well, let's stay with Donald Trump. He did the interview with Fox News yesterday. It was panned by a lot of people as well, unsurprisingly. What did you make of it, particularly that he's continuing to stand firm on his belief that the election was rigged, even though, as you just heard us there, Arizona is now being confirmed. Most of his court appeals and lawsuits have been thrown out. Is it time for him to accept it?
Look, I'm told that he really has come to terms with it, but he feels that on behalf of the 74 million people who voted for him, that he needs to continue to press this case of voter fraud, or at least irregularities, at least the sort of changing of the rules at the last minute in these Democrat cities, or not actually at the last minute, but under the cover of COVID in the months before the election. But the problem is the GOP knew that mail-in ballots were. Donald Trump and Bill Barr, the Attorney General, kept saying that they were prone to fraud. It's a matter of historical record that they are much more vulnerable to fraud. So obviously when you have a huge number of mail-in ballots because of COVID, you're going to be exposed to more fraud. So I think that really these exercises are going to be useful, not in overturning the election result, but in ensuring that this doesn't happen again. And that's definitely a worthwhile exercise. And I'm told that his family, at least his children, are very keen for him to run again in 2024, though I think others close to him don't think that he'll do that as soon as he's left the White House and is starting to play golf and make money again, that the pleasures of being beaten up every day for 4 years sort of wane slightly.
Yeah, but it's a pride thing, isn't it? I mean, he may well want to get back at the system and try and win again. And perhaps, Miranda, if it's not him, it would be Don Jr. I know a lot of people have been talking about Don Jr. as a possible runner in the future. Just finally to wrap up.
Well, he has a lot of competition there. I mean, there are so many great young up-and-comers, and even, you know, people like Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State, who are going to be throwing their hats into the ring. But there's a whole generation of Trumpists that are very formidable, and I think that, you know, Don Jr. will have a lot of competition in that sense. And I think Americans are a bit sick of the idea of having dynasties.
Dynasties, yeah. Well, you know, that was to the detriment of Hillary Clinton, as we've seen. We saw quite well 4 years ago.